absolutely physically from. But I think that there are a lot more children, when you look at, for example, the magazine I'm talking about, that are waiting for families in a long time, and they're older. And the older you are in foster care, the longer you have a chance to really have your self-identity damaged.
Peter Hayes, you're a researcher in transracial adoption at the University of Sunderland. Are we too obsessed with race?
I think we're far too obsessed with race. I think a colourblind placement policy would make a lot more sense, because it would be one where we could place more children more quickly. There wouldn't be any delays while you look for a racial match. There wouldn't be any problem with the children getting older as you wait, and as a child gets older, they get more difficult to adopt. There would be no difficulties about trying to get, as we've now got so many mixed-race children, there's no difficulty trying to find some particular match, which becomes increasingly
What about
impossible.
the issues of identity and cultural heritage?
I think in terms of identity, I don't. Sometimes people talk about a kind of a need to a particular kind of identity. I don't think you need a certain kind of identity as you grow up. You can be one religion or another. You can be one. You can think of yourself as having a strong ethnic identity, or you can think of yourself as a human being. Simon said he had a very. It was interesting listening to Simon. He said he had a very successful adoption, but then as an adult he wanted to, he kind of felt a bit different and he wanted to explore these things. It doesn't sound as though that, for example, has caused him any kind of psychological trauma or anything like that. In a sense, it might have been an enriching experience, that maybe he's been able, perhaps more easily,
to associate with different kind of people.
Colourblind,
yes, it has been up for a while. Good morning.
Good morning. I think with the right support, any adoptive parent can offer a rounded and well-balanced life for any child, regardless of race. And I think that by race matching, we're almost buying into segregation and not moving towards a society that we're after, as you said, a mixed pot society.
Yeah, multicultural melting pot. What about Alex Goldberg? What about religion?
Religion's a very important issue. It depends when you adopt somebody. I think it can change. One minute you're in a Christian family, and then you're adopted by a Buddhist family. I don't know how that happens.
But a baby, how can a baby have any theological knowledge?
Well, look, I think in terms of...
Should a Jewish baby be adopted into a Jewish family always?
Look, I think the debate here is, if you can place children within a cultural, sensitive environment, that's great. But I think we have a two-tier adoption system in this country. I know couples who have successfully adopted inter-country adoptions, which are inter-ethnic, intercultural adoptions, whilst there are children in this country who wait on the foster care conveyor belt system. That can't be right. We can't be putting impediments in the way to adoption and leaving these children.
Should a Jewish baby always be adopted into a Jewish family?
According to Jewish law, and you're going to push me on this. According to Jewish law, somebody born of a Jewish mother will always be Jewish. That's how we define them.
Was there inconsistency?
If they're adopted into a non-Jewish family, they can then later join the Jewish community. It's not an inconsistency; it's about values.
It's not a hypothetical case. This is a real case. It's someone with a Muslim father and a Jewish mother. Then where do they go?
Sorry?
Muslim father and Jewish mother.
It's not a hypothetical case.
It is an actual case.
He's put the case to me. We live in a place with multiple identities, and that is one case per se. According to Muslim law, that child is Muslim. According to Jewish law, that child is Jewish. I'm finished. During the 1930s, the kinder transport from Germany, Jewish children were brought into this country. Agencies here adopted them intentionally with evangelical Christian families so that they would change their religion so they'd be saved. That's got to be wrong as well, because that's forced conversion and doesn't take the birth parents' situation into account when they're being persecuted and killed. So we've got to be balanced on this.
You want to come back,
yes,
Robin?
Try and have cultural families,
back on this. Calm down.
One of the things that, with the statistic that you showed, and even the gentleman sitting next to you, one of the things that you said is that a greater number of interracial or maybe inter-religion or whatever children are going to express an interest in their heritage. But the question should be, would you rather have languished in care eternally, never having a family of your own, or would you rather have that question to ask? And I submit that whether it's religion, whether it's race, whether it's whatever, if you have a family that is going to be respectful, and I agree with you, most of our friends in our group in Norfolk have adopted children from China, and they bend themselves so far over backward.
Responsible adoptive parents will do just that and make sure that they inculcate into their children a knowledge and understanding. of the cultural heritage which they would come from. Go on.
But Nicky, see, what Sue has said is very important. The experience of 70-something% of children who've been through this sort of colourblind adoption is an unhappiness in terms of their own identity and culture.
But it's not
and the
colourblind.
fact is that it isn't simply a matter of making it all colourblind. It's the best interest of that particular child and placing them in the most
There are
suitable
difficulties in adoption anyway.
Now, if you cut out and say colour is irrelevant, you're denying a very important part of their heritage and what will matter to them as they grow up. And you need to make quite sure that you are doing your best for that child.
Okay, should a black baby born of Muslim parents, birth parents, should that baby go to a Muslim family or a white family?
But Nick, you see, you're...
let me do it again, it's a better one. Okay, bear with me here. Bear with me here. Black baby of Christian parents, that's better. Black baby of Christian parents, should that go to a black adoptive family who may be Muslim or white Christian?
See, I wouldn't even begin to try and answer that question because
it's impossible to answer.
I would want to look for the most suitable adopters for that, and Sue would want to do that herself.
Yes, but
and she would try and recruit the most suitable adopters.
But the problem is why on earth is the colour of your skin what makes you a suitable adoptive parent or not?
Because there are issues to do with your own identity.
Yes, but I don't know about you.
The experience of people growing up with black children in white adoptive families has been an issue that there have enormous problems, which you described very vividly, about your own identity.
But he said he was very happy. He said his problem was that he had problem finding to sort out his hair. I'm having problems sorting out my hair.
Simon.
Definitely, I was very happy. My brother wasn't so happy. At the age of 10, my brother, who again, all-white family, he actually joined the National Front, and he's actually a lot more darker skinned than I am. He put a big swastika on the front of the window that he was told he had to take down. He couldn't understand why, because he was proud to be British. And I think, definitely, I think very happy, let's get people in loving families. But I do think there's a huge issue that if you're a black child, it's some real positives out of being able to have positive black role models, find out a bit more about your...
Yeah, but you know what...
Peter Hayes, wait, Peter Hayes.
I want to challenge this is about 70% of children having big problems. It simply isn't true. The successful adoptions have been studied over and over again, and about 3/4 of all adoptions are successful, and it makes no difference whether these adoptions are transracial adoptions or interracial adoptions. I don't exactly know where these figures are coming from. I guess it's coming from like Curtin and Howe and Feast.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, it is. And those figures are shot to death. The British agencies for adoption and fostering are disgraceful in the way they manipulate statistics. Again and again and again, you see in reputable statistical studies, you see there's no difference between the outcomes for transracial adoptees and interracial adoptees.
Sue?
Okay, I'm not talking here about placements that have broken down. We're not saying that the only indicator is looking at the colour of someone's skin. What is most important is the family that is going to help that child meet all of their needs. And one of those needs is the need to belong. And that sense of belonging is helped along if they're in a family that reflects that sense of belonging.
Is love not greater than pigmentation?
Adoption deals with all sorts of issues. A lot of the children that are adopted have suffered trauma. They've suffered issues around their attachment. They've got
The longer they're in
problems with
care,
their
the more trauma
bonding.
they've got, haven't they?
We're not advocating children staying longer in care. What we're saying is that there are families out there, and we shouldn't ignore the fact. We know that you can recruit families.
But
that
white
can
children
best
right
meet
now
the
have
needs of
twice
all
the
of
chance
those
of being adopted as black children. That's
well,
the fact.
we would say that there isn't been enough effort in lots of agencies to do that. We know people from black and minority ethnic groups who have gone to a local authority to say we want to adopt a child, and have been turned away because there aren't any children there to meet them. They've come to
Last word.
Absolutely, that doesn't make sense.
Last word, Robin.
There's magazines full of children who need homes, and they list how long they've been available for care. And I'm not saying, I don't think that, I think that everything should be taken into consideration. But when you have a child or a sibling group that might be split up, or perhaps have been in care, or freed for adoption, not even in care, freed for adoption for 2, 3, 4 years, get that family, those children into a family that will love them, celebrate them, acknowledge them, enjoy them, connect them. I mean, you grew up in a time that there wasn't a lot around. Now there is.
Things have changed. Thank you all very much indeed there. We must leave it on that one. Now, whether you have experience of adoption or just a point of view, you can log on to our webpage and follow the links to our message board and send us your comments on our final debate, please.